Jataka Stories are accounts of the past lives of Gautama Buddha from the time when he was a bodhisattva cultivating spiritual perfections. The Buddha would recount these stories to the monks on various occasions in order to teach moral principles and timeless truths. These stories are known as Jataka, tales that resemble fables, yet are profound teachings rooted in wisdom rather than mere entertainment. The commentary on the Indriya Jataka, a story of the 4 levels of goodness. A gentle afternoon breeze passed through the great Bodhi tree at Jetavana Monastery. The leaves swayed softly, whispering like quiet waves upon water. The Buddha sat silently beneath the tree's shade. Before him sat an elderly monk, his posture heavy, his eyes filled with tears, a man silently struggling with a battle within his own heart. That monk had once been a wealthy householder in the city of Savatthi. He had owned a grand home, possessed great riches, and lived with a wife he dearly loved. But on the day he heard the Buddha's teaching, his heart opened. He renounced his household life and ordained, determined to walk the path toward liberation. Yet life in the saffron robe was not easy. He lived on leftover alms, cold rice, thin gruel, tasteless food. Some days there was hardly anything to eat at all. Hunger, weakness, and memories of his former life slowly took root in his mind. One day, while going on alms round past his former home, his former wife saw him. She recognized him at once. Her eyes trembled with compassion, and she invited him inside to eat. That day the table was filled with dishes they had once shared in happier times, the familiar aroma of his favorite curry, the warm smile of the woman he once loved. His heart began to waver. How delicious, he thought, far better than what I receive in my alms bowl. With a single taste, old attachments long asleep were awakened once more. His former wife knew his heart was not yet free, so she decided to test him. One day, she pretended to laugh and play joyfully with a handsome young man in front of the house. She teased and smiled like a girl newly in love. When the monk passed by and saw this, his heart shook like a leaf in a storm. Jealousy, pain, and longing overwhelmed him. He stood frozen, tears silently streaming down his face, and whispered, "I will disrobe." That very day, the Buddha became aware of all that had happened. He summoned the monk and looked upon him with eyes both gentle and firm. "Monk," the Buddha said, "this is not the first lifetime in which you have been overcome by that woman. Even in the distant past, you once lost your meditative attainment because of her, yet through reliance on me, you were able to regain your clarity once again." Then the Buddha began to recount a story from a former life. Long ago, the city of Benares flourished with temples and bustling markets. Chanting echoed through the streets, incense filled the air, merchants called out to customers, children ran through narrow alleys, and temple bells rang softly in the distance. There lived a handsome young man named Jotipala, the son of a great priest. He was intelligent, deep in thought, and fond of contemplating the truth of life. One day, as he watched the people in the marketplace, the rich consumed by greed, the poor consumed by envy, he reflected, "Human beings struggle endlessly for things that do not last." From that moment of insight, he renounced the household life and became a hermit, dwelling in a great forest miraculously created by Saka, the king of the gods. The forest was quiet and sacred, filled with the sound of waterfalls and the gentle fragrance of wildflowers. Jotapala developed deep meditative absorption, his mind becoming calm and cool. Many disciples gathered around him in reverence. Among them was a young hermit named Narada, pure-hearted, sincere, yet not fully steady in mind. One season, Narada stayed near a great river. Each morning, village women would come to bathe. Their thin garments clung to their bodies as sunlight shimmered upon the water. One woman laughed softly, splashing water playfully with her friends. With a single glance, Narada knew. His heart had begun to tremble. The mind that was once still like a quiet pond now churned like waves after a storm. He tried to meditate, but the image of the woman would not fade. For 7 days he neither ate nor drank nor spoke to anyone. His elder brother Kalafilith perceived this through spiritual insight and hurried to see him. Seeing Narada pale and frail like a sick man, he asked, Narada, what is wrong? Why do you not meditate? Why do you not eat? Narada avoided his gaze and replied only, nothing. Knowing this was no ordinary matter, Kalafilif went to invite the great teacher, Sarabanga himself. When Sarabanga arrived, he understood everything at a single glance. Speaking calmly, he said, Narada, you have fallen under the power of the senses, have you not? At those words, Narada's tears fell freely. He knelt down and confessed, Yes, master, I have failed. Sarabanga spoke gently, yet firmly, My child, pleasure born of desire is like a fire. It warms for a moment, but in the end it burns the heart. Peace born of calm, though difficult at first, is cooling and enduring. Narada listened in silence for a long while. Tears flowed as he spoke with deep remorse. I am too weak, master. I cannot train my mind. Sarabanga smiled softly. No one can train the mind in a single day, but each time you fall and rise again, that is true victory. As Narada's mind began to settle, Kalafilith continued. One who earns a living honestly, this is the first level of goodness. One who shares wealth with the virtuous, the second. One who gains wealth without arrogance, the third. One who loses wealth without sorrow, the fourth. Whoever possesses these 4 kinds of goodness cannot be defeated by the senses. Sarabanga nodded. Yes, my child. There is none worse than one enslaved by the senses, but one who conquers his own mind, even without wealth or fame, is truly noble. Narada bowed deeply before his teacher. Tears flowed, but his heart felt light. He returned to his practice with renewed effort, and in time he regained his meditative absorption. The Buddha finished his story. The elderly monk who had once thought of disrobing sat quietly. His eyes were wet, but these tears were not of sorrow. They were tears of relief. He pressed his palms together and bowed low before the Buddha. Tears of faith streamed down his face. The heart that once trembled became still, like the surface of a lake at dawn. The breeze passed once more through the Bodhi tree, as though the Buddha's teaching cooled the hearts of all throughout Jetavana Monastery. At that time, the Buddha declared, the hermit Narada was this very monk, and Sarabanga, he said, was I myself.